These fabric chairs were painted years ago, and they have been battered and bruised, and they are dirty and paint splattered, and they are in a desperate need of a makeover. So today we're going to turn these beautiful chairs into works of art, something that is colorful, bold, and lots of fun. So come along. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see how you can transform your furniture, your home, and most of all, you. I have had these chairs for a good number of years, probably 10 plus years. They were given to a friend of mine and they gave them to me. They're nothing valuable, but they are something really fun to play with. And the first thing that I did with these chairs, they were a very dark rust color, like you see here. And we painted them in Dixie Belle's Savannah Mist and then sealed it with wax. And I kept them in my store so they could be an example of how to paint fabric. And that was lovely for the time, but now they're in the new space. I want them to sit in my office. And since this doesn't really go with the color palette, as you can see the color of my walls, the color clashes. So since these chairs have a wax on them, what we're going to want to do is normally our process is we would clean it, we'd paint it, and then seal it, right? Well, this is fabric for one, so the process is different. Two, they're already painted chairs and they're already sealed with a wax. So we want to scrub these down with some mineral spirits and remove that wax so we have a good surface to paint on. So what I'm going to do is just pour on a little bit of this mineral spirit. It says it's odorless. They lied. So I am outside. I'm just going to rub that all over. So I'm going to be doing the same process with both chairs. All right, now that we have rubbed them all down with the mineral spirits, we're going to let that dry. I'll come back in. You can kind of feel where the wax is and where it isn't. So we're going to let this dry for a while. But while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and get my sander out and try to see what's underneath the paint on the legs. So we're going to see if I can get them sanded down to a point where I can add some stain and add a little warmth to the piece. But first, let me show you the vision that I have for these chairs. I knew I wanted to do something fun and bold, like I said, and colorful, but I just didn't know exactly what. And then I started looking around the internet and I found a few chairs that I really loved. And I looked around at some different fabrics and whatnot as well. And at first I was going to do just one solid color. And then I realized, you know what? This is a blank canvas. And this is something that I can have a lot of fun with, not just one solid bold color or even two solid bold colors, but I can actually paint a design, some artwork on these chairs as well. So let me show you some of the inspiration that I found. The first chair I found was teal from Home Depot, which was gorgeous. And then Rifle Paper Company, of course, has some amazing prints. And then Etsy come in with the big, bold, beautiful prints. And Pioneer Woman, of course, is always my favorites. But Chair Whimsy, I would say, is the all-time best at mixing bold colors, patterns, and beautiful chairs. And I love the face on the back of this chair, which that's what really got me inspired. So what I thought I would do, since I'm the wooden butterfly, I would paint a very colorful butterfly wing on one chair in the back with a floral background. Then on the other side, I'll take that butterfly wing and put all the florals inside of that butterfly wing. Then on the front, we're going to add some hot pink and then a hot pink pattern on the bottom with stained legs. Do you think it'll fit in my office? I don't know. Do you think it's too bold? We're going to make it work. So I have got 60 grit sandpaper on here. I really need to get over to Walmart and get some more. If you watched last week's video, check that out when you're done with this video. If you haven't watched it, check that video out when you're done with this one. I tell you all the different supplies that I get at Walmart, and this is one of them. Well, I think this is something that we're actually going to be able to work with. That came off pretty good. Of course, I'm going to start at 60 and then I'll go to 120 and stop at 220. You don't want to go anything past 220 because then the stain doesn't absorb. So keep that in mind. Okay, so now that I've got the mineral spirits all over, trying to get off as much as I can of the wax, I'm going to clean it. I've got my white lightning and we're going to spray her down. And then I'm just going to take a scrubby and different scrubby and scrub it down. After you scrub it down really well, then I have clean water in this jar. All right, now that the chairs are all clean and rinsed, they are a little bit damp, but I'm still going to mist them just a little bit. I'm also going to mist my brush that I am going to be painting with. I am using a chalk style paint, which is Dixie Belle's chalk mineral paint, and I'm using the color Peony or Peony, or however you say it in your part of the world. And all I'm doing, I like to use the round brush because that really helps me to get into all the nooks and crannies. Because what you want to do is you want to go in a circular pattern. You want to go in all different directions. You really want to get into all of the fibers of the fabric. And this goes for, even though it has paint on it already, there's lots of texture and pattern there that you have to get into. I'm pushing really hard into where the buttons are to make sure I'm getting into all of the gathers and pleats that are around all of those buttons. I wanted the piping on the back to be hot pink as well. So I am just going around that to make sure I get it really, get into all the nooks and crannies. Now the seat we're going to do in pink champagne, which is another Dixie Belle paint product. It is a super light pink, but it almost looks white, but I think it'll go perfect with this. The white I just felt was going to be too stark, as well as it's a lot harder to cover with white than it is with having just that little bit of pigment in that paint. Like I said, you're going to go back and forth. You're going to go do circular motions. You're going to do cross hatching. You're going to do diagonal. You just want to get the paint into all of the nooks and crannies. Now on the back, we're going to basically do a background as if this was a canvas. And so I'm using the colors Mermaid Tail, Peacock, and then Antebellum Blue. And we're going to blend those all together so that it looks like a really moody background. So I'm taking the Antebellum Blue and I'm coming up around the edges and I'm trying to blend that pink into the blue as well so that you just have a little bit of contrast along the edge. And then you're just going to add in blobs, no rhyme or reason, some of the lighter colors. This is a very random pattern, and you're just not going to, you can't screw it up. Let's put it that way. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're just trying to create, depth and variance amongst all of those colors. Once you get them kind of blobbed out there, then I take a dry brush and just blend them all together. And we'll do the same thing on the back of the other chair. They're going to sit in my office facing my desk, and so I want the butterfly wings to mirror each other. And again, taking that dry, clean brush and just blending all the colors together. And then I just took a little wet rag to clean up any of the piping on the edge. So this is what they look like after they have dried. And as you can see, I kind of rushed with the second chair on the seat, and I didn't blend it in. I didn't do the circular motion and all of that, and this is how it came out. But that's okay. We can fix it on the second coat. As you can see, some of the blue is still of the underneath is still shining through, so this will definitely need a second coat. But we're going to slow it down, and I'm going to show you exactly how I blend the back of the chairs. So I'm really cleaning up that piping to make sure that pink paint is on every nook and cranny. And then I've taken an artist brush while that pink paint is still wet, and I'm just going really slow and meticulously around that edge so that you get a nice clean line where the back of the chair starts and where that piping ends. And then blend it out. You can't blend it too much. Well, I guess you could, but you can't mess it up. This is where this would be a great time to practice your blending if you wanted to do blending on a piece of furniture, because it's just a blank canvas and there's no rhyme or reason as to where the depth and the blobs are going. The key with blending is keeping all of the paint wet. So mixing as you go along really helps the process. So I got the outside all cleaned up and ready to go. So I turned it around, and I'm doing the fronts of the backs of the seats. And where they meet the bottom, I took a piece of cardboard and pushed it really far in there. It's actually something of my granddaughter's. I don't even know. But I just shoved that in there so that you could get a nice clean edge where the light pink was going to meet the dark pink. So it's the same process again with the second coat. But I noticed it after that first coat, there wasn't a lot of distinction between the different colors. So we're not going to blend it quite as much this time. The lighter color is called Mermaid Tail, and that middle tone it's called Peacock. I should say, brighter color. On the inside of the buffet that sits in my office, I used a wallpaper that had a dark teal background, and that's why I went with the dark teal on the back of these chairs, because I love the contrast of that orangey apricot-y color with the deep teal. I love it also with the hot pink. So I thought, well, we're going to put both of them in these chairs. Like I said, these are perfect chairs to just have some fun with. If I don't like them, we'll just paint them again. If you're interested in these chairs, which are from World Market, or any of the inspiration chairs or the products that I'm using, please check out the link in the description. So I'm just making sure that darker color is still wet. So I'm adding a little bits of it here and there, also to get that contrast of the lighter and the darker colors. Just adding the darker in between some colors helps it to really stay a little more distinct, a little more depth. So again, we mist it to keep it nice and wet, and then we take a blending brush and we're going to soften the edges of all of those colors. I'm just using a circular motion first to kind of just, like I said, we're just softening the edges so you don't see really distinct blobs of color. The blending brush you use, I like to use, you can use any type of brush, but I like to use one that's really dense, but it's also really important that it is dry. If it's wet, you're going to muddy up all of the colors, and they're not going to just softly blend. They're going to just muddy up altogether. And randomly, you're going to want to mist as you feel it drying out, as well as you're going to want to clean that brush. So I'm just wiping it on the drop cloth that's underneath the chairs. And now we're just going to go in kind of a hatch pattern. There we go. That's the words I'm looking for. And just softly blend all of that out. Okay, so I've got the second coat on everything. Now the seats that have the lighter color, they might need a little more touch up, but we're going to let them dry quite a bit more and see where we're at. But I'm going to stop here for this video, and you'll have to check out next week because that's when I'm going to turn these chairs into pieces of art. I've taken pieces of scrap wood and some other canvases and things that I have around, and actually even a sketch pad, and I'm going to be watching a whole bunch of tutorials, and I am going to practice. I'm going to practice all of the flowers that I'm going to be painting onto these chairs. It's been a good minute since I really painted anything major, so I really want to practice so that I get these looking the way I really want them without having to do these chairs over 15 times. So I'd rather practice on the scrap wood than on the chairs themselves. So that's what I'm going to be doing this week while I let these chairs dry. When you're painting on fabric, it takes quite a bit more to dry than if you were painting on wood. So we want to let this coat, this background coat dry really well, and of course the seat, like I said, I want to let it dry and see where we're at. So if you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video, because next week I'll be turning these into pieces of art, and you're not going to want to miss that part. If you hit that card right up there, then you will see the video that I did last week on all the supplies that I get from Walmart, and there was a makeover in there as well. So go back and check that out after this video is over. All right, y'all, have a great week. We'll see you in the next one.